Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio. Jump in and help continue to bring it to you, which I would appreciate because this program is 100% viewer funded. Please feel free to become a partner, become a hero of the realm or a knight of the realm, and donate at paypal.me/World Bigfoot Central. And so with that, I'd like to bring on my guest. What we're talking about today is Pukwudgies in Texas. And with that, welcome to the show, Brett.
Hey, Duke.
Hey, man. Good to see you're still alive and haven't been Pukwudgied. Nice to have you on the show.
You know, I'm trying my best.
Keep trying your best. Try to avoid them. So this is a little bit out of the ordinary for us. This was Brett actually contacted me, had weird stuff going on, little people related, wasn't sure exactly what he was dealing with, and I put him in contact with Robin Moonshadow, who's been a guest on the show before. She helped him sort out the situation, what's going on there. Hopefully, you will be hearing from her later on, talking about her part in the whole situation. But I thought it would be really interesting to get the two people that were seeing and experiencing this firsthand on talk about what actually happened in their own words. So how did this whole thing start unfolding for you, Brett?
Well, for me, I met my my girlfriend, Becky. I met her about 11 months ago. And we've been dating for about 10 now. And it didn't really start for me until probably about 3 months into the relationship. You know, you drop her off at your house and you feel like you're being watched, or it feels weird. You can tell it in the atmosphere, you know, like as soon as I leave that neighborhood, I feel fine, you know. If I go back to her house, then I feel like something's off, you know, and it's just woods out there, you know, so it's like woods and then her house, woods, another house, you know, it's kind of a sparse down neighborhood. So it's not like there was just pasture like some Texas places are. No, we live in the middle of it, so it's not quite forested like East Texas, but it's not just desert like West Texas either. So you would go in, but you would feel like you're being watched. But then, you know, let's say like it's night, flip on your headlights. If there is anything too far back for your headlights to penetrate the trees. And so after a while, you know, I got talking with my girlfriend, and she would tell me, you know, yeah, no, just leave it alone. It's none of your concern. Just like, all right. But after a while, it started becoming my concern, because not only am I worried for my safety, I'm worried for her safety and her family. And because these things are not fun to have, you know, it's not like another pet in the woods.
Yeah, I hasten to add, these aren't the kind of little people that show up on your front porch and give you a snow cone or something. These guys are unfriendly.
Exactly. Like one of the main things they do is she had a couple stray cats that went under her house, and they were pregnant. So they birthed a litter. She had crap ton of kittens, you know, 15, 20 kittens at least. So every night you'll hear a kitten screech, you know, like it's being murdered. And so what we learned is that if it screeches once, yeah, Pukwudgie got it. You're never seeing that thing again. If it screeches every couple minutes, it's just wrestling with another kitten. So you'd be out in the middle of the night. One time we're having dinner in the bed of my truck. You know, I'm not a fancy Texan, all right? Wherever my truck goes, I go. My truck is my bed sometimes.
Your truck is your horse.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like a second house in Texas is your truck. So we're in the bed of my truck. I had dinner, and we're sitting there. All of a sudden, a cat screeches. You know, and I'm like, "Oh, what the hell was that?" And she goes, "Hey, wait a couple minutes." It didn't screech again. She's like, all right, yeah, one of the things got it. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, oh, you know, yeah, it'll turn up in a couple days, and it'll be scavenged and the neck twisted around broken.
Good God.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying, because, I mean, it's not like I'm watching it, but when the bodies turn up mutilated, it's just like this poor kitten, like, it's probably a quick death, but like at the same time, like, damn.
So are they just killing them, or are they killing them and eating them?
Mostly they just kind of like, it's almost like the orcas and the great whites. You know, like the orcas just eat like the great whites liver, because it's just like the best part. That's what they do. They just kind of take like the liver, maybe the heart, and maybe some intestines, but only the good stuff, and they'll just kind of snap it open. But let's say like, you know, like ribs and stuff, nah, I'll leave it. Too much work for them.
Huh. Yike. Those poor little kittens.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And honestly, most of the litter's already been killed off. I think she only has 5 kittens left.
Wow. That's just not fun. So has there been any other livestock attacked and or missing in the area?
Yeah, every now and then you'll find, like one time I was driving there on the side of the road. I saw a deer. And in Texas, it's not unusual to see a deer on the side of the road. We have a huge deer population because we don't have any super huge predators. The biggest thing you'll find in our area is a coyote. And every 10, 15 years you'll hear about a mountain lion, but that's it. That's it. We don't have any bear, nothing.
So other than stray dogs or something like that.
Honestly, the biggest thing you'll find is like a loose Great Dane. That's it. But I came across it and it looks a little funny, so I kind of stopped and I'm looking at it, and this thing, the thing just looked absolutely torn apart. You can see leg bones sticking out where the legs were broken and the neck's twisted around, head did a 360, guts completely taken out, looks like someone butchered it. And I'm thinking, and I'm like I can tell this is not a hunter's kill, because first of all, it's not seasoned, and we live in a small town, so really no one does that, because if your friend finds out, then your friend tells the cops. This isn't like a huge city.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it, I don't see any bullet holes or anything, and I'm just like, God. And then obviously there wasn't a big enough trauma for like a truck like mine to hit it. I drive a big 89 150 that could totally total a deer, and even like a little Subaru could do a pretty good damage to a deer, but this was more than just that. It's like something literally grabbed it by its head, ripped it around completely 360, then snapped the leg, and then just gutted it, took what it wanted, and left.
Well, for a deer now, that would be typical of a Bigfoot kill, because that's what usually gets reported. They snap the neck, or they break one of the legs initially, usually when they're grabbing it, and then snap the neck to finish it off, and then they'll take like some of the soft organs and just leave the rest of it. So I mean, that fits it. That's like textbook Bigfoot deer kill.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and honestly, I don't think I've actually ever heard anyone report a Bigfoot. Not saying they aren't out here. For all I know, I got one in my damn backyard that's taking a nap.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's interesting is that in a lot of cases where you get reports of the little people, it seems like the Bigfoot are in the area or near it at the same time. And I don't know if that would follow with the kind that you got down there. Probably not. But, it could be, that could be just a random Bigfoot kill, a Bigfoot going through the area or something. And maybe not even be little person related. Although they've got super strength too, according to the reports on them and the legends and myths and everything about them. So it wouldn't be beyond their capabilities to do something like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I've seen, you'll hear the neighbors like let's say you're passing through, you'll see all kinds of dog posters and shit. And it's not just, it's not like your normal city thing, like, oh, my dog went missing, and like, oh, I saw it. No, like, the dog disappears, no one ever hears of it again.
Never seen again. Yeah,
never seen again. It's like the dog didn't exist.
Yike. Yeah, we get that here every so often, where people have their dogs for walks up in the local hiking area, 35,000 acres, teeny hiking area. And every so often somebody will have a dog run off, and then they'll be all over town posting, reward posters and stuff. And for the most part, the dog is never seen again, which is sort of weird.
Yeah.
Because people are up there every day walking their dogs and stuff, and you would think the dog would be seen again. But in a lot of cases, no.
Well, the other thing about it is just, like, we're not the only ones in the neighborhood that know about it, like, our mom knows about it. Neighbors know about it. There's an old man that's 80, 85 years old. He knows probably everything to know about these things, but he keeps his mouth shut. So
after you were basically enlightened to the fact that there was something weird going on there eating the cats, what happened next?
Probably I've seen glimpses, but probably the best one I had is one night, it's late at night, I'm dropping her off. We're driving her home about 11. I leave my house at 11. She was about 25, 30 minutes away from me. And so we're driving down the road, and I'm about halfway to her house, and there's a little four-way I'm taking the back roads, because we live in a country, so back roads are really the best way. Honestly, I don't know, that's just how we do it. And so there's a little four-way to where you can take her road, you can keep going straight, and there's like a little neighborhood, and then the way I came. So I'm about to go to the four-way, and she goes, "Hey, like, I just saw something." And I'm going, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "There's something on the side of the road. Like, I saw a black mass just sitting in the grass on the side of the road." And I'm driving, like 45, 50 miles an hour, and I'm like, okay, well, I can't turn around, I guess, it's not going to hurt us now. So I drop her off. I'm driving back, now it's like midnight. I'm tired, I'm almost falling asleep at the wheel. I'm blasting music full volume to keep me awake. I got the air blowing in my face, windows down. And I come into the grass, and I see the grass move real quick. So I'm thinking, hey, I'll stop. I'll check it out. So I stop, turn the truck around, put the headlights on bright. Out of nowhere, this thing just stands up and just looks at me dead in the eye. And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, what the hell is this thing? And it's not that tall, 3.5 feet. I doubt it was 4, but maybe 4. I couldn't tell. 3 or 4 feet, let's call it that. No higher than a little over my waist. I'm almost 6 foot. There's no way it was heavily over my waist. And this thing's just staring at me in the tall grass. And I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at its eyes. And this thing's just got the most yellow, amber eyes, and it's just looking at me. And this thing, we're locking eyes, and I'm in my truck. And I'm thinking, like, this thing is pure evil. Oh, my God. And really, like I said, really only lasted about 15 seconds, but it felt like hours to me. I felt like I was there for 5-6 hours just staring at this thing. And just sits there, and all of a sudden I snap out of it. I'm like, I got to get the hell out of here. So I put the truck reverse, swerve around, and then I just skirt out of there. And I just drive home, and, I go in my house, and I lock the door. And I actually think I texted you. I was like, dude, I saw something. I'm not sure what it was, and I described it to you how, just stood there, grayish skin, yellow amber eyes. And I'm not going to lie, it freaked me out for like a week.
What does its face look like?
It's like, honestly, if you Google like a Pukwudgie and you see like, there's that one picture. I don't know how to describe it. It's that one picture with like a white background, and he's sitting there. He's got like a little pot belly. You know which picture I'm talking about? Because that one just,
I'll probably find it.
It depicts it perfectly. Just, it's got like a long nose, the mouth's all drooly, amber eyes. Depicts it perfectly. I looked at it one day. I was like, oh my God, that's what I saw. That's exactly what I saw. Like, I know this is just a drawing, but that's what I saw.
Creepy. Well, from the description you gave me, that's what made me put Robin in contact with you. And I'm not sure if I initially said that it sounded like a Pukwudgie or if we arrived at that conclusion later. But I remember that it did worry me enough that I felt like you needed to be in touch with Robin, who has more specific information on a lot of the little people than I do. So, yeah. So, well, before you had your sighting, like you had alluded to earlier, Becky and other relatives of hers also had interesting things going on and or sightings. So let's bring on Becky and talk to her about what's happened with her then.
Hi.
Hey, Becky.
Hi, Duke.
So how long has this been going on for you? Have you been aware that these little goobers are running around there?
Since forever, since I could remember.
So years and years.
Years and years, since I was born, actually. Like, I didn't think I was going to tell you, but Brett told me it would be a good idea and that you could help me. But it started when I was born, and we lived in the middle of nowhere in Mexico, and it was like a little town, but it was in the middle of nowhere. It was like a ghost town, and the town's called Black Rock in English, but Piedras Negras. Well, I was born, and my mother has 4 siblings, and she was the oldest. So at that time, she was living with my grandmother, her mother. During the night, the day after I was born, during the night, my mom hears a thunk while she's sleeping. Well, one of them tried dragging me out of the house, from under the house, trying to take me, and my mother freaked and tried finding me while I was screaming. I was like crying, and she said that it was a horrible feeling that they tried taking me, and
Yeah, I bet that would definitely shake up mom to have a little person grab baby and try and run off with a 1-day-old baby.
yeah, and it wasn't fun for her at all. And after that, my grandmother would pray for me and put holy water and like trying her best and saying, it's just a demon, it's just a demon. And back then, no one wanted to talk about them, and my grandma knew what they were, but she would just call them little demons and say they're Satan's work of art or whatever. And it kind of stuck with me ever since that happened. My mother told me about it because I asked my grandma, because I saw something in the woods when I was 5, and that brought my attention. So I asked my grandma, and she finally told me. And she's like, well, sweetheart, they're stuck with you. Like, they marked you as baby. They never got a chance to take you. So they're just watching you now.
And maybe still plotting on trying to take you. Makes you wonder why they were trying to take you to start with.
Yeah, which was uncomfortable to hear and still haunts me when I sleep.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. I would be freaked out for the rest of my life, too. I mean, when you're a little baby, you don't remember it, but then adults tell you later on, oh, by the way, this happened. Wow, that would be rough to have to deal with.
Yeah, and another encounter that I had was when I was 12. It was summer vacation. I came back from the mall, San Antonio Mall, and, well, it was night. And we went inside, everybody went inside, and I stayed outside, trying to get everything that I bought out of the car. And I go in, and not even 10 seconds, I remember that I forgot something in the car. So I run and I get it. And there's this thing up in the tree, just watching, and it goes like, it tries to get my attention, tries to make noise, and like, quiet, the best quiet noise ever that only I can hear. So I look over, and it's that thing on the branch. A horrible thing. It makes me feel horrible, so I try running, and it just, I don't know, it just tries coming after me, so I run inside and I scream, and I tell my mom, and she's telling my stepdad that we need to go, that we need to get out of there, and we leave for the night. And I ask why, and she's like, we can't have you around. We just can't have you tonight here. We can't, we have to leave. So we left, and we never talk about that night, because my mom, it makes her uncomfortable that it tried chasing me inside the house. Yeah.
Again, why have they got this fixation that they want to keep trying to grab you or something? What did he look like? How big was he? What did he have clothes on? What did he look like?
It was dark. I live in a trailer, so the lights outside isn't strong, but I got a glimpse, and it didn't look that big. It looked short. It just looked buffy, and it had those big yellow eyes, and it's just something that I keep replaying in my head every single time I remind myself of the situation. It's not that big. It's something small, I guess. Well, small for you probably, and small for my boyfriend, because he's almost 6 foot and I'm 5, so it's like half my size. I'm so 5 foot.
2.5, 3 feet tall. Did he have clothes on?
No. It was
weren't any clothes.
no clothes.
So could you see any other details?
No, it just looked like it was like you know that frog position? Frog position. It was in frog position, but sitting on the branch. And it jumped off and chased me into the house. And, like, that's what freaked me out. The tree was, like, 3 feet above, like, the branch was 3 feet above the ground. And it just jumped off like it was nothing. So I was like, okay, well, if I jumped off of there and I'm 5 foot, I'd probably, like, twist something or break something. And it literally landed on 4s. And then it started charging at me, and I ran inside, and I started screaming.
Yike. Good Lord. It does not sound like fun. So what was the next thing that happened?
The next thing was me. I'm pretty sure you've had those teenager years where you just sneak out and go out with your friends in the middle of the night.
No way. I was a perfect kid. I never did that.
Well,
yeah, we were insanely stupid about that because we were living in an area where there was like timber wolves and, mountain lions and stuff. And we'd still go sneak out in the woods in the middle of the night.
Yeah, but I have my sister went out with me, and it was 2 other friends. And we snuck out from the window, and I told her, what if they chase us, and she was like, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. I have my knife on me, it's okay. And I was like, all right. I was still nervous about leaving the house, but I still did.
How old were you?
I was 15.
Okay.
And we leave, we get out from the window, and our 2 friends are out in the road, and we are like, what are we going to do? Are we just going to go to the pool, chill? And our community pool, since we live in the woods, our community pool is like 3-4 blocks away. So we're walking, and we have to walk through woods and woods and woods. And it's a small trail, but mostly woods. And we hear something. And my friends are freaking out. And my sister grabs my hand, and she's like, they followed us. Like, they're chasing us, they're hiding out and watching us. And she whispers to me, and we're whispering, and our friends are like, what are you talking about? We're like, it's nothing, we need to go home, and we'll wake up my mom so she can take you home. And we knew we were going to be in trouble because we were out, and my mother always told us never to be out late in the woods. So we freak out, and we're walking, we're all walking in like a line. So we're grabbing each other's hands, and we're just walking, and we hear something behind us, but we don't want to turn. And then we're like, we need to run. My sister tells all of us we need to run. So we run, and we hear something following us and running after us. And we scream, and we're not that far away from our house. And we scream, and my mom literally wakes up my stepfather, and he grabs the gun, and we're screaming, and we're running down like the small trail, and it's running after us. And my friend, she freaks out, and after that, my friend didn't want to come over or talk to me ever again. But I see a glimpse of it, and then my friend sees a glimpse of it, and she doesn't want to talk about it. And I tell my mom, my mom meets us there in the little path, and my father has the gun, and she tells us to go inside, and he starts shooting warning shots at it to leave us alone. And after that, we got in trouble, and I learned my lesson not to go outside late, very late. And
so your stepfather must have seen this thing then, right? Because he was shooting at it?
Yeah, my stepfather and my mother know a lot about them, and they do know how they look like. And I've asked my mother about it, but she doesn't want to talk to me. She even told my boyfriend and me to leave it alone. She's very strict about all that. And she told us not to stick our noses where we might get hurt.
Well, there's that, but then there's also if you don't know anything about these things, it's more easier to get hurt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. This is the same sort of thing with some of the tribes like the Navajo and the Skinwalkers, which they don't want to talk about. Just because even, saying anything about Skinwalkers will maybe attract their attention and make them come get you or something. So is this, I don't want to get into your background very heavily, but are you from like some native tribe?
My grandmother was, before she dropped everything and just started, instead of her keeping her wild side, she preferred to become like try to become more of a city woman instead of how her, tribe, molded her to be.
Did Grandma ever talk to you about this at all?
Yes, but my mother would always shut her up and tell her to stop putting those things in my head.
What little did she get away with telling you before Mom hushed her?
That it kind of scared me, but she told me that it's something that they marked me, that they weren't going to leave me alone until they got what they wanted, either killing me or doing a ritual or something. And she freaked me out, and I was almost going to cry, and she told me to calm down, and she told me to always try to get away from them. And after I turned 18, to get out of the town and leave and try to get as far away as possible. And she said they might follow you, they might not, but just try to be safe and, don't fall into their trap.
Yeah, for sure. Well, being that this whole thing started when you were down in Mexico, I wonder, it seems like you got two options. It's either the duende or the pucks, and either one is bad. Either one can't be trusted. You shouldn't be dealing with either one of them. And yeah, I would almost prefer it was a duende if it was me, but sounds like it's pucks. Yeah, that's just really bad. I wish I knew more about the folklore surrounding them, and if there is like any foolproof way to keep them away from you or to be safe from them.
The scary thing about being outside with a group of people is hearing a baby noise in the woods. Like they make baby noises to try to attract people. Yeah.
Yeah, I've also heard that they can mimic people's voices really well. They'll mimic the voice of somebody in your camp that doesn't happen to be around at the moment and try and lure you into the woods so they can like gang stomp you or something.
Yeah. I heard my name called last week and it sounded like my mom, and I called my mom and she was like, "No, I'm inside. I'm inside."
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay." She's like, "Come inside. You're not allowed to be outside." And that's why she gets mad when my boyfriend drops me off very late.
Yeah, you should make sure he gets you right to the door. Not 5 feet from it. They're fast and sneaky.
Yeah.
Well, have you had them try and get into your house or anything? Is that all the encounters that you've had with them?
They have tried, but only to scare, They do jump on the roof, and they do tap from under the house and try to scare. And my sister, one night, they were on the roof, and I was whispering to my sister, telling her if she was, asking her if she was awake, nudging her, please wake up, are you awake? And she just whispered horrible words to me and said, "Be quiet, they smell fear." And I completely shut up, and I pulled the covers over my head, and I just tried going to sleep. And it was hard hearing that from my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very creepy. So your sister knows about these things are around there too, and everybody in the family apparently knows that they're there.
Yes.
So what's it almost, to my way of thinking, that would be like time to sell a place and leave.
Oh.
Any particular reason why you guys, are continuing to stay there?
We've been living there already it's going to be 11 years, and that place means a lot to my mom, and it's close to my grandma.
A long time.
Yeah, we've been there a long time, and we've had we keep having those problems, but my mom just keeps telling me to leave it alone leave it alone and just quit whining and just don't.
Quit whining about the evil little people that keep trying to break into the house and steal you.
Yes.
That doesn't make much sense, Mom.
She told me before, all she's trying to do is protect me, and I told her, like, we need to leave, but she won't listen.
Well, I'm just, it almost makes me think that Mom is of the opinion that they're not locals and that if you move somewhere else, they're just going to follow you again.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. How long has the whole family been living in this area in Texas now?
About 13, 14 years with my grandma, and where we live, about 11.
So how long has Grandma been in that same place?
About, I think she's about to be 32 years living there.
That's quite a while. Now, did Grandma ever tell you that there was any activity by these little boogers around there before you were there?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's actually reassuring. They may have gotten a memo from another group that they're supposed to harass you, but at least they're not following you.
Yes. It happened to my mother too, but it stopped for my mother, honestly, when she turned 20. But my mother had the encounter with them when in her town, in the small town, Black Rock, there was this old woman that would feed the things babies.
Oh, God.
Yeah, like, the town had a crazy old lady who they just left her alone, and in that town was famous for babies going missing. And they never suspected the old weird woman, going into the woods, like 6 minutes away from the little town, 6 minutes away, there was only woods, and there was a little town, and she would just sneak in the house and during the night, take the baby and feed the baby to those horrible things. And then later on, she would go where she put the baby and grab the remains and bury them.
Was she, what do you call it? Brua?
Bruja?
Yeah. So that what the locals think she was up to? Black
No,
magic
my mother was the one who followed her and hid behind the trees and saw what she was doing. And they stormed the town and tried finding the woman, the old lady, and she ran away. And they never saw her again, but babies kept going missing.
So they never did catch this evil hag then?
No.
Jeez Louise. Oh my God. Well, that, that would be bad to, man, I could make some really bad jokes about habituating right now, but that's just so gruesome, I'm not even going to touch that. It makes you wonder what she was up to, if she made pact with these things, or if she was somebody that summoned them initially, or what was going on there.
Yeah, she was giving them peace offerings so they would leave her alone. And she, my mother said she was a horrible woman, and when my mother told, she said that they would follow her and they would make her life a living hell. And it happened to my mother, and my grandmother tried protecting my mom. And 20 years later, they left her alone. And then came me, and then they tried taking me, and, just connect the dots.
Yeah, multiple generations of terrorism from the Pukwudgies. But it sounds like it, I don't know if it started there, but it at least has some kind of direct relationship with this crazy evil hag that was feeding babies to these monsters.
Yeah, my mother said it was horrible how she just grabbed the pieces of the baby that was left and buried them. Like it was nothing, just how a dog buries a bone.
God. Yeah, I bet the people in that town really wish they would have caught her.
Yeah. Honestly, that's when they started to put bars on the windows in Mexico. That's one reason they started that.
Keep the evil witches from stealing the babies and feeding them to the Pukwudgies. Yeah, I can see how that might be a good idea. You just had Robert Boston on here, and he was talking about the shutters that they have on the windows in Germany, and that's a cultural thing for hundreds of years. As soon as it gets dark, you put the shutters over the windows. Like, why would that be? Kind of wonder if it's this, same weird thing going on over there, or if it's, if you don't see the werewolf mugging your neighbor out on the street, then you're not liable. So just put the shutters down so you don't see it. If you hear screams, ignore them. You can go check in the morning when it's safe, sort of thing. It really makes you wonder, geez, were you able to get any good and useful information from Robin as to what you could do to help with this situation?
Actually, Brett knows because Brett was in contact with her. I honestly was nervous and about coming on here because of my mother and everybody in town.
Yeah.
Everybody in town is very strict about this. If you talk about it, they shun you. It's horrible. They just don't want to talk to you if you talk about them, and they either shut you up or, you get shunned or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's sad that it's that way. Apparently, they're all pretty paranoid about these little boogers, and they must know something about them.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if those things were actually there before people even moved into the area, and they've just gotten accustomed to having them around there. So it's we're not going to talk about our local Pukwudgie problem. It would hurt tourism or something like that sort of thing going on.
We hardly get any tourists here, right? Yeah, we hardly get any tourists here. It's very rare. It's a small town.
Yeah, that's what I understood. It's like about the size of a postage stamp or something.
Yeah.
But so again, it makes you wonder even more. Well, it's like you're not going to hurt the tourist trade. It's a tiny town. What do maybe they just, I don't understand why the code of silence on something like that. It's going to attract too many TV shows from the Paranormal Channel or something. I don't know.
They just don't want it reaching out, out there in the bigger cities. So we hardly get any tourists. So they just wanted to keep it that way. So more people can come over here and enjoy the beauties of this town.
Yeah, enjoy the beauty until you're like camping and you get mugged by a Pukwudgie in the middle of the night. Then it's not.
God.
That could be the kind of like a not fun end to your little vacation there. We were having a great time down by the river until those things came out of the trees and started attacking. Then it wasn't so much fun anymore.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, should you kind of let somebody know about this particular infestation? It makes you wish there was like a division of the Orkin or something that dealt with paranormal vermin. You can call the Orkin army and say, hey, can you guys come out? We got a Pukwudgie infestation that really need to deal with. It's been going on here for generations. God.
There was this problem that also happened, not with me, but with a neighbor. She usually gets drunk every Friday. Every single Friday. But this time was different. She, instead of staying in her part of the property where her little cottage is, she starts walking in the woods.
Uh-oh.
And she's fully drunk. Completely drunk. And I hear screaming, and my mom hears screaming. And my dad is always armed. Everybody in the neighborhood always has a gun on them, or in their bedroom, or under the couch, or under the table. And he runs out, we all run out, and we go to where the screaming's at, where we'll call her Rachel. Where Rachel is screaming, and that thing hops off her, runs away, and my dad tries getting the flashlight on as fast as possible to get a glimpse, like, you know, to see what really, if it was a cat. Like, he was trying to make it seem like it was a cat or an owl or something that got on her. And it was one of them. And Rachel was bleeding. Her face was torn. Her chest was scratched. It was so bad. We called the ambulance, and my mom was like holding her and trying to like put pressure on her cuts and on her deep cuts. And it was horrible watching all that blood. And it wasn't a fun experience, honestly. And Rachel learned not to go out there, and she stopped getting drunk, honestly.
Oh.
Yeah, she stopped drinking.
Phew. Yeah, I could see how that might sober you up a bit or turn you into an even worse drunk. Oh my God. Oh, I can't even imagine that, walking around in the dark and having one of those things jump you in when you're like super drunk and can't defend yourself. It's no wonder it did it. Probably figured it would get away with it.
It looked, yeah, she had like deep wounds on her face, and she had like a bite mark. Like, it was on her cheek, and it looked like if it was the teeth of a German Shepherd, but bigger, and it like went into her skin and tried grabbing a chunk off.
Oh,
like,
man.
It was halfway in there, like she, I don't know, where that thing almost got a chunk out of her cheek.
Oh. Man, did she have to have plastic surgery to reconstruct her face?
No, she got stitches, and she her scars are deep, like really bad scars, honestly. She didn't want any surgery. She just wanted to get the stitches and get it over with. She didn't want to leave the house for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's understandable. That poor woman. Oh my God. Jeez. Well, I just don't understand. I guess I'm just not getting it when you got something that everybody knows is around there that's that dangerous, but they don't want to talk about it.
It's honestly just, my mom went over to her house a couple times and talked to her, and I wasn't allowed to go over there with her while my mom was over there and talking to her. And my sister told me she's probably telling her not to tell anybody, and telling her it was probably like a dog, and they can't find the dog, you know?
Yeah.
The dog that attacked her. And
sure. Yeah, like a lot of these, Bigfoot sightings that are supposedly just a bear running around on its hind legs. Sure, yeah. We're believing that one, too.
And everybody was like, well, then have the dog, jump and drag her down and, like, claw her face and sink its teeth into her cheek.
Well, you could probably make a good skeptical case that it is a dog right up to the point where there's the witness there with the flashlight that sees her run away, and then that falls apart.
Yeah.
And the victim may have been drunk and getting mauled, but the person that showed up with a flashlight, I'm guessing, wasn't drunk.
Yes.
So, sober witness, sober eyewitness. Well, no dog.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, man, I just feel for you guys. I wish there was some kind of advice I could offer on that. Did you have any other sightings or experiences or anything around there that happened related to this that you wanted to share?
That's about it. But Brett knows a little bit more. He's seen a couple of sightings, but small ones, not major. Well, yeah. Only one major, but just small.
Well, the one he told us about already where it had headlights on it and it was glaring at him. Oh, my God. That's another one where it's like you've got the headlights on it. You're looking right at it. It's not a dog,
Yeah.
Oh, geez, Louise. Well, thanks so much for having the courage to come on the show and share with us, Becky. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure all the listeners do too, because this is one of those things that you just don't get to hear very much about. Most people, like what's going on with your town there, people don't want to talk about it. And if they haven't got the pressure of all the neighbors on them, it's still so terrifying and weird that, who's going to believe me there's this little 3-foot tall weird little person attacking me or something? Nobody's going to believe you. So you don't have a chance to talk to anybody about it.
Yeah. And my grandmother can't talk to me about it because my mother won't let her.
Yeah,
So,
well, Mom will intervene. You got to go visit Grandma when, Mom is on vacation or something. And go, hey, Grandma, Mom ain't around. Let's talk about these guys. Mom's not around to run interference. Let's get some information out.
I hardly get to go to my grandmother's house, as you can ask my boyfriend as a witness. He's like, why don't you just go over there to your grandma's and talk to her? And I tell him that, well, my mom was probably going to go with me, and it better be a good reason why I'm going over there. And if it's about them, then I can't talk to my grandmother about it.
No, I totally get it, man. That would be so terrifying. I don't know if I'd ever want to talk to anybody about that, even if, like you're saying, all the locals and stuff seem to know that this is going on and whatnot. I can see why they don't want to really share it with the outside world. But I would think that as a community, they'd be trying to figure out how to best deal with these things and or get rid of them, if there is any way.
I did talk to my mom and tell her, haven't y'all tried to run them out of the town? And she said yes, but we honestly don't know how. We don't know their weaknesses. We know how they look like. We know where they came from, but we just don't know how to drive them out without hurting people.
Yeah.
Without people getting hurt.
Well, if these actually are pucks, and we're talking about the legends and stuff that have to do with them, it's it's not reassuring. It's not a good critter to get into a warfare with, because they sort of don't like humans and are looking for an excuse to go after us most of the time anyway, it sounds like. So, yeah, I wouldn't be an enemy you'd want to pick a fight with. They're already looking for an excuse.
We need a bloodshed.
Yep. Then, keep around the area and start going disappearing and all kinds of bad things, and turns into a B horror movie before you know it. You don't want that happening.
I'm glad that they're only going. It feels so bad for me saying it, but it's better for the cats to go than the babies or children that are in the community.
I agree with you there. I mean, I prize human life more than the life of animals, although I love animals too.
I love animals too, I do, but I had a niece where I have a niece. I have 2 nieces now, but the first one was born here, and my sister literally did not want to be here, and she left. And she said that she doesn't want her baby here, and she just quickly, after she had it, she left.
Huh.
She didn't want to be here.
Yeah. Doesn't want to give him a chance to try and nab the baby. Maybe heard your story and went, no, not letting that happen.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, my heart goes out to you, and hopefully you guys can stay safe from these little terrors. And thanks for coming on and telling us all about this, Becky. But let's get Brett back now and finish up what he's got to tell us.
Okay.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Sounds like they're just kind of out to get her almost in particular, and if you're the boyfriend, then you're sort of probably in the way.
Yeah,
so maybe they're out to get you too.
They're like, damn it, now she's got another one. Yeah, let's take him out too.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably the way they think, considering what the legends and folklore about him is like. Pretty foul-tempered and hate humans, so not something you'd want to trust, actually. So other than your one sighting where you got to have him in the headlights and look at his evil, glaring little yellow eyes, what else have you experienced?
Nothing as detailed as that. Most of my, experiences with them is, drop her off. She goes in the house. I sit there for a minute, doing something with the radio, calling, dad, friend, whatever, And then, I'll be sitting there in the truck. It's running, just kind of chilling, doing my thing. And you'll hear something run off in the woods, and the thing is, if you don't even really have to be like a big woodsman. If you know enough about animals, or let's just say you're walking your dog, you can tell the difference between something that's on 2 feet and something that's on 4 feet. It's a lot different.
Yeah, big difference in sound of something running between the
and for anyone that doesn't, like, just take your dog out, go for a walk. Listen to your dog run, and then you run, and you can tell a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure. It's obvious. So are they noisy, or is it just like, sounds like a little kid running sort of thing?
It's like a little toddler running. It's almost like the Chucky movies, like when he runs across the floor, you hear like little like foot taps. It's exactly like that, but just on leaves.
Oh, geez. That's creepy. So these things are basically like sitting around there waiting for you to drop her off.
Yeah, they're there. They're almost like little stalkers.
Yeah, well, no kidding, they are. Puck rhymes with, whatever. Anyway, notoriously ill-tempered little monsters. What did you find out from Robin when you talked to her?
So when I talked to her, pretty much I told her what I saw. And she's like, oh, yeah, no, you got a Pukwudgie. And I'm like, crap. She didn't even think like 2 seconds. She's like, oh, no, Pukwudgie. I'm like, that fast? She's like, oh, yeah, no, it's a Pukwudgie. Like, oh, okay.
Hey, well, how do you deal with Pukwudgies, Robin? Well, hand grenades and flamethrowers, napalm strikes occasionally.
Well, she did tell me, and I guess this is for anyone out there who's really gonna have their own encounter or wants to go, I guess, look for one, which I would highly advise against.
Yeah, this is not one of those cryptids you go do a research trips looking for. You're asking to die.
Exactly.
Humans.
Really, don't shoot them, don't kill them or anything, because it's like any other little person.
Then the rest of them will come after you.
Yeah, not only that, it's almost like murder, but on our level, It's almost like you're murdering a midget.
And then they'll send the Puck police to come and collect you up.
Yeah, I know. Next thing you know, you're getting, bombarded by like 10 or 15 of them at night.
No thanks.
Yeah. Really, the only thing you can do, if you have one or two of them, you can probably run them off, but we have so many. There's probably 20, 30 at least, It's like a huge tribe. It's almost like their own little like country in there. Like, geez.
Well, they kind of have the same thing going on up here in this area too, with the Narumbi, where they're around. They seem to have like little underground cities and stuff, and they'll just be in like one little area, but there will be tons of them. So that's why it's like nobody messes around with them. Because okay, one little human, 2 feet tall, you can drop kick him, and then his 30 friends start shooting you full of arrows.
Exactly. So really, the only thing, Robin told us straight up, there's not much you can do. There's too many of them. It's almost like you have like a termite infestation. You get rid of one part of the woods, then they're in another part. You get rid of that part, and then they're in the other part again, and you're just gonna be going back and forth, and it's just not worth it. One thing is they hate sage. Sage, they hate the smell. They're a lot smaller than us, but they have heightened senses almost, It's almost like they have like a bloodhound nose, like they smell everything. So to them, they hate the smell. It's almost, it's almost like pepper spray to them, almost in their own way. You light a sage, they go, nah, we'll go to your neighbor's house.
Yeah, and this is well known for smudging against evil spirits and shamanistic ceremonies and stuff. That sage is frequently employed to make bad spirits go away. And it seems like the Pukwudgies fall almost into a lot more into the category of the really downright diabolical and demonic little monster, rather than just like a little person like a gnome or something like that.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons, like, we have a lot of people who are like, oh no, they're demons, and I think one of the parts is how not only do they hate sage, but they hate salt, and especially sea salt. Sea salt. If you ever have an issue with Pukwudgies, sea salt all over the window. Take care of them right away.
Yeah, that's good to know. There's some useful information. But again, I refer back to the same thing. If they're having the same reaction to countermeasures commonly employed against malevolent spirits, why not? What's the reason to think they're not a malevolent spirit?
Yeah, I mean,
essentially, there's some kind of little midget demons or something that have physical form.
Yeah, I'm not honestly sure. I mean, I think they're a little both. If you had to ask me, it seems like they're kind of, they're not completely spiritual. They're not completely physical, but they seem more physical. Like if you do like percentage, I guess like 65% physical, 70% physical.
Yeah. Well, and that's sort of the same take that you get with a lot of the little people legends, even different kinds of little people from all over the continent. That essentially they're physical, but they have like some sort of paranormal or magical, what we would call like magical powers.
It goes beyond the physical embodiment, yeah.
So they're not like intangible, like a ghost or something, and blinking in and out of existence. They're physically there, but they seem to have powers that we would consider to be magical at the same time.
Now, the other thing I would recommend to people, and even Robin agreed with this too, is my girlfriend. They have a pit bull. It's a pretty big pit bull. They tie it up in the backyard, and these things do not go near the backyard. They do not. Yeah, they don't go near the backyard.
How do they react to other guard animals like 100-pound Asian water monitors or Bengal tigers or
really?
Thinking of potential upgrades here. Moat full of gators.
Yeah. No. Yeah, some snipers on elephants. Anything couldn't hurt.
Yeah, I would think moat full of gators would probably slow them down a lot. They might not be us anymore.
Until the gators see what they are, and they're like, "Nah, we're good, man. You're on your own."
In the middle of the night, you hear that snap. What happened? Oh, we got one less Pukwudgie. That's what happened.
It's like a mouse trap.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, it's nice to know there's some kind of countermeasures. So you can sage, you can smudge form with sage, you can sea salt around perimeters. And this is like, this goes back in high magic rituals and stuff like that for centuries and centuries and centuries. You make a protective circle to keep the evil spirits out and stuff. You're using sea salt, and that's usually, one of the things that gets talked about a lot. So again, this totally complies with the usual dogma of dealing with evil spirits rather than the physical critter.
Yeah, no, the sage, salt, and honestly, I think the best thing to keep them away permanently, so that you're not continuously, lighting sages and stuff. Like if you're not with the sage and the salt, the next best thing I can recommend is getting a good sized guard dog, because they do not go near that pit bull. It's like a mutual respect. It's like we could take this pit bull on and we could kill it, but it's going to take about 7 or 8 of us with it. So let's call a truce here, all right?
Well, the other thing you got to worry about with those guys is they're sneaky and devious, and like in the legend with Moshops the giant, they poisoned him, so they could sure try and do the same thing to one of your pets and poison them too.
Exactly. So. But I did just get her the German Shepherd. You already know this. I got her. My friend offered me a Shepherd, and I said, "Yeah, why not?" And I gave it to her. And it's still just a puppy, but they still seem to be kind of wary, even though it's just a couple months old. They still seem to kind of back off a little bit more as it's growing. So I think as soon as it's full grown, they can kind of stick the Shepherd in the front yard, pit bull in the backyard, and they just gotta worry about the sides of the house.
And you get one dog for each side of the house.
Yeah, you get a dog for each side, and then it's almost like a perimeter.
Yeah, they're all running guard duty in their own little paddocks that are keeping the pucks out. Nice. Yeah, I would think the bigger and more aggressive dogs would be enough to make them think twice about trying to sneak in there. Because, you think about it, if you're their size, a really big dog like that is like the equivalent of a horse. So, picture a horse that jaws in a bad attitude trying to chomp you. You probably really don't want to deal with that.
Now, one story I don't think I heard her talk about was her dad's remodeling their kitchen, right? So there's all kinds of holes in the floorboards and stuff. So one night I drop her off, and I'm like, "What's that hole in the floor right there? It's a big hole. It's where like a 2x6 or a 2x8 should be." She's like, "My dad's remodeling. It'll be all right." I'm like, "All right, ain't my house. I'm gonna go home and take a nap." So I drive home. Very next morning, she calls me. Hey, they got in the house. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, one of the things crawled up through the floorboard, figured out there was a big hole where a 2x6 should be, and was walking down the hallway.
Oh, God.
One of the dogs barked and scared it off. So that's actually just a couple weeks before I got the shepherd. I was like, because they don't let the pit bull in the house. Don't ask me why. Ain't my cup of tea, ain't my house, It stays in the backyard. So that's why I got the shepherd, and I told her the shepherd stays in the house. You're not throwing this outside, because if one of those things gets in the house, the only dog they let inside is like a little Yorkie. I'm like, what is a Yorkie gonna do to this thing that's 3 foot tall and kills deer for a living? So I got her the shepherd. I told her it stays in the house. That's your inside protection. The pit bull can stay outside.
Yeah, the Yorkie would just end up being another meal for them. They wouldn't. That wouldn't probably slow them down very much.
Yeah, like a little toothpick.
Yeah. Not big enough. It's like fighting a Chihuahua dog, man.
The only thing that went in that Yorkie's favor is I don't think the Yorkie even was being aggressive. I think the Yorkie was just scared to death. So it barked, but the thing wasn't quite to her room yet. From what my understanding is the dog barks, but these things don't know that it's a Yorkie. So for all it knows, it's another pit bull. So it runs.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. The Yorkie is just an inside dog, inside the house dog.
Yeah, they let it out sometimes, but mainly it's an inside dog. They'll let it out during day, but at night it's an inside dog. That's they know better.
Well, if you think about it, if they're that size and there's only one of them in the house by himself, even a little dog could slow him down enough where humans could catch him or something like that. So better to not take chances and just get the heck out of there. And again, we know that they're devious and sneaky, and so yeah,
they are, and it honestly scares me, how intelligent they are. And I'll tell people right now, just because they're smaller and they're not driving a brand new Escalade and watching, NFL on a 75-inch flat screen TV doesn't mean they aren't just as smart, if not smarter than us.
Well, we don't have eyewitnesses in their underground city, so we don't know if they've got miniature SUVs. And
yeah, that too. That too. For all I know, they're driving a little mini version of my truck.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. I'm guessing they probably don't, but let's not put it completely out of the realm.
Yeah, but it's scary because if you're out in the woods and you hear a whistle, you'll hear a whistle in our area, and you look around. You're in the middle of nowhere in the woods. You look around. I just heard a whistle. I'm a little. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, Bigfoot does that too. So there's another option. Well, and don't forget about all the different kinds of birds that whistle and humans.
Yeah, it's.
And
I'm a little familiar with the birds, not too familiar, but usually you can tell the difference here because our birds are kind of limited. It's they're kind of we have very limited wildlife. Not a lot of things can handle the heat.
Yeah, that's true. And you don't usually get whistles out of armadillos and stuff like that. So
yeah, no,
let's discount that as being an option. So one thing you didn't mention is that you figured out pretty much what area these little guys are living in.
So the thing I've kind of noticed is, like we said, we live in the country. It's nowhere. I live 20, 25 minutes, maybe 30 if you go the speed limit, all right? I'll admit it. I go a couple miles over. Sue me, all right? I got places to be. But I didn't even know these things existed. So I've lived here for 4 or 5 years. I met her 10 months ago. I didn't know these things existed until I met her. And really, it's only about it's just in her area is all it is. And that's what confuses me is my friend lives probably about a mile or two up the road. I don't even think he has any issues up there. It's just this little area. So it's about a square mile or two. And it's just that area. Just that. And if you go up the road a little bit to where my friend's house is, I don't think he's had any issues. Honestly, I'll ask him and I'll let you know. And in my area, I don't have any issues. I know I'm a little farther, but it's not like they have to go through several highways, a freeway, in a busy neighborhood to get to my house if they wanted to.
Right. It's like they've got this one little area that they're just kind of local to, and if you're too close to that, then you're going to get pestered, but otherwise, yeah, you're fine.
And that's what I haven't figured out. And because I understand if like they had the area before, and but you would think if people are kind of encroaching on their land, I would figure they would expand. I mean, just to kind of get more area to themselves, because there's no competition out here for them. I mean, they might have the occasional coyote pack, and you get the mountain lion report every 10, 15 years. But that's it.
Yeah, well, according to legend and stuff, they're not like heavy duty reproducers either. They may live like virtually forever. So there's no, just because the population isn't expanding or anything doesn't really mean anything with those things. Again, they're at least partially supernatural. Who knows what, they could live hundreds of years. We don't know. In fact, evidence seems to point in that direction, that they probably live hundreds of years. So they don't need to breed very often, or maybe they just don't even breed. They might be created beings that are left over for who knows how long. So don't know what to make of that whole thing. But it seems like some of the little people actually do reproduce, because you find reports of different size ones, different size tracks and stuff, but would seem to indicate there's younger ones that are not full size yet and then getting gradually bigger. But it doesn't seem like you ever hear anything about that sort of thing with the pucks. I don't know, could be wrong. Maybe somebody else knows something about that. Put it in the comments. But I haven't heard anything about that at all, and it almost sounded like there's just a supernatural element to them. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've seen quite a few footprints, and I had quite a few pictures of footprints, and then my phone broke, so I lost them, and I'm really mad about that still, because I can't get them off the phone. The phone's garbage. I can't. And I've been looking for a while. I can't really find anything definitive, but one time he pulled up, she heard something, so I go, okay. I go, watch this. I turn off the lights. This is before I got the 150. I drove a Ranger before the 150, so I'm in this little Ranger, and I go, okay, watch this. So I put it in reverse. It's a stick, it's fun. And I reverse. I turn off the lights. I go, all right, now watch this. I pull up a little bit to where she heard the noise, and I turn on the brights, and this thing freezes, like, oh crap, they see me. And then it just leaps and jumps off into the woods. So the next morning I come back, and I'm waiting for her. I think I was picking her up to bring her to the mall or something. She had to go shopping or something. She needed a ride. I was bringing her. She's taking forever. I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to go adventure. I go into the woods, and I go right to where she saw the thing. And I see a little footprint. And I'm like, okay. So I follow it, and there's a trail that went about 100 yards, and you could see the footprints. 1, 2, 3, 4, yada, 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 up until where it stood. And then you saw the 2 footprints where it leaped, and that was it. I lost it.
Huh. Well, it's pretty cool that you found a whole trackway, though. I mean, you can conveniently pass it off as I was just seeing things, and it wasn't really there until you actually go and find the trackway, and then you're like, yeah, that was real.
Yeah, I even followed it where I thought it would, see a broken branch here and there, nothing too definitive, but, so where you can connect the dots. Yeah, that's probably why that branch is broken. Yeah, that's probably why, this is knocked over, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, all I can say is, you guys apparently have some idea on how to deal with these things and at least keep them at bay at this point, and don't provoke them. You know where that little area is. Don't go there. Stay away from it.
Yeah, it's just, I don't have that big of an issue because, I live 20 minutes away. So my biggest concern is for her, for sure. And her family too, because I understand they know what they're dealing with and stuff, but at the same time, if these things wanted to, they could probably throw a rock, bash in the window, and jump in 30, 40 at a time.
Yeah, but again, when you start doing things like that, it has bad side effects, and that would.
Yeah, I think
They're probably thinking if they did something like that, that all the local humans might just finally decide that was the last straw.
yeah, that's it. Grab our shotguns. Let's go talk.
Yeah. Let's go get the napalm. I know where their tunnels are.
Yeah.
Pour it in, light it up, rawhide.
Fortunately, I have not found any tunnels yet. The best thing I could find that's even a possibility is I found a big, could probably easily fit at least a fox or a bobcat. I grabbed a flashlight, showed it down. The thing went, I don't know how, it went pretty deep. I don't know if it's big enough, but that's the only thing I've been able to find where I'm like, yeah, a small one could probably fit in there. If a 30-pound bobcat can fit in there, I bet you one of these things can fit in there.
Yep. And and the other thing is they're smart. They probably got hidden entrances. They got things that are disguised as a chunk of ground. They could just move it out of the way. There's a door.
Yeah. The other thing they found was the other night. This is another thing, cat killed, whatever, and they found the body like the next morning or two, and then the day after that, the body was gone. And there was like a little wood thing where the body, and just like a little statue, and it was made out of the stuff you made, polymaster or whatever it's called. And it's just a little hollow bear, a little wooden bear. And they left it where the cat thing was. So her brother picked it up and kept it. I told him, I don't know if you want to do that.
Yeah, it could be a cursed item. I wouldn't touch anything they leave.
But I'm not you. But he kept it. I took a couple pictures of it. I still have it on my phone. I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Well, make sure you send pictures so we can take a look at it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I took a one from every angle. I got the front, the back. I turned it upside down so you could see it's hollow. I even tapped it. I got it out. And I was like, is this wood? Because it didn't look like wood, so I tapped it. And then I got a piece of wood and I tapped it. I tapped the wood. I was like, yeah, no, this isn't wood. This is that thing you make garden gnomes out of.
Huh. Interesting. I wonder where they got it from. They swiped it from somebody else.
Yeah, I asked Robin. She was like, they might have stolen it. I don't think they made it, but they probably stole it.
Yeah. Stole it, cursed it, left it for somebody to find. Well, I guess that concludes this part of the interview. Thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing it with us. And extra special thanks to Becky for being here and for your intervention and talking her into actually being on the show.
Yeah, it took a while. It took a while.
Well, it's totally understandable. I had another guest on that was talking about the little people up in Wyoming, and she's seen them, and her great uncle was interacting with them and stuff, and that's just like taboo. The tribe does not talk about that sort of thing. So it's totally understandable. Don't want the bad guys fixating on you. So makes sense to me. But again, thanks for being on the show, and thanks again to Becky for being on the show. Meanwhile, let's go down to the actually seriously more sunny area to the south of me, which would be the Lone Star State of Texas. And we'll do some updates here with our former guest, and again, back on the show, Brett. And if you recall from last spring, he and his girlfriend were having some pretty bad problems with some teeny paranormal terrors. And he's back to give us updates on what's been happening since the last time he was on the show. So welcome back to the show, Brett.
Thanks for having me back, dude. It's glad to be back on the show.
So yeah, I hear you've been having some more problems with them, and now they're like changing their center of attention apparently. So what's going on down there?
Well, after we ended the show, we had some more activity on her end. The normal stuff, banging on the window, trying to get in the house. They had one instance where the German Shepherd I got her, it's been getting a little bigger. It's about 6-7 months now. And one night, I wasn't there. This is just what I've been told. So what I understand, I guess one of them was messing with the Shepherd, and the Shepherd wasn't too happy about it. So I guess it kept messing with the Shepherd, and the Shepherd eventually had enough And keep in mind, this isn't a big shepherd yet. Obviously, when this is full grown, it'll be anywhere from 80 to 100 pounds in a big dog. But right now, it's probably about the size of an Australian shepherd, around that size, medium sized.
So the
at
dog's not
best.
full grown yet.
Yeah, far from it. But I don't know how. I don't know. I guess the dog had enough, and it went almost like the Hulk, and it broke the chain that was holding the dog in its place, and it ran after something. So that freaks out, Becky and her family in the house. So they come running out, and they're calling after her, Moose, Moose, and they hear her run after something, and out of nowhere they hear like a weird like screech or something, and I guess there's like a hill like a few hundred yards in the tree line where the dog ran. So what it sounds like is, I guess, Moose tackled one of the little Pukwudgies, and they ran down, rolled down the hill fighting, and I guess Moose chopped on it or something, bit in the leg or the arm or whatever. That freaked out the puck, and then the puck fought back, and they heard Moose let out like a whimper, and then I guess they heard the little thing run off. Then Moose came running back, all acting like nothing happened.
Wow.
And the next morning I came over because they were all freaking out, and I'm tired, I'm like, okay, I got work in an hour. What do y'all want? And they're, oh my God, Moose got into it with something last night. I'm like, all right. So I go down in the woods, I'm thinking they're probably BSing. She probably ran after a deer or something, But I did find the trail where you could see where something ran through the trees and, broke some branches a little lower than a deer probably would have. I'm not saying that, this is definitive or anything, but it did look like it was skinnier and shorter than a deer would probably be if it was running through that area. And you could see where Moose tackled it, and it rolled down the hill, and they had a scuffle. And you could see little tracks where it ran off, and then you could see the tracks where Moose ran back. So it does seem like, I guess, Moose tackled one of the pucks, and they got into a fight. And I guess he scared it, the bejesus out of it, and it ran off, thinking that it barely got away with its life. And Moose is thinking, man, nothing happened. I'm going to go back to sleep. So I thought it was pretty funny. They don't think it's that funny. I think it's funny because the dog's like, I'm just doing my job, can we go back to sleep now?
Yeah. Yeah, I drove away the intruder. I tackled him and chomped him too. Can I go back to sleep now?
Exactly. Just like, is it going to stop bothering me now? Can we move me over? Can I have like my own little private place?
Oh my God. So yeah, I can see why they'd be a little bit freaked out about that. Is that work then? As soon as he went after that one, has it been lurking around the house anymore since then?
So after that, it really, we didn't have any activity for like a month and a half, 2 months. And I don't know if maybe the dog incident did scare them. I don't know if maybe, it's something to do with in Texas. Obviously, compared to like you're in like 30, 40 degree weather. And for the most part, we've been in like 70 to 60 degree weather, but that's still very cold for animals down here. So, and we had like a little cold point for like 2-3 weeks when they kind of disappeared, where it was getting like 50, 40 degrees every morning. So I think, maybe it was like a little semi-hibernation, or maybe they were stocking up for the winter, or maybe the dog scared them off. Who knows? But so about mid-October, and this is where things kind of switched up on me, is up until mid-October, it's all been on her end of the property. She lives about 30 minutes away across, across the town. And so pretty much for me, it's like, well, as long as I'm not on, on her patch of the woods, I'm safe. I don't have anything to worry about, But so one night she's over, and I'm, and it's the middle of the night, and the dog wants to be let out. So I'm tired. She's all like, hey, I'm gonna go let the dog out. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I knock back out. So about, I don't know how long, I'm guessing 15, 20 minutes, I was asleep. But she comes running in, screaming, she's crying, and I'm like, okay, what's the issue? And she's like, she tells me that she took the dog out and they were walking up on the property. We have about 10 acres of land on my property. So she walks her about halfway across the property. Dog does its business. She's walking back and she hears like a little like, psst, like something's trying to get her attention. And she looks up and about 3-4 feet up the tree. One of the things is they're crouching, staring at her and the dog. So she like freezes out of fear. And so she walks to the left, and its eyes follow her. She walks to the right, its eyes follow her. And she just freaks out. And then, so obviously my dog's pretty big as a Great Pyrenees. He's about 130, 135 pounds right now. And Becky's only like 5 foot. So the dog yanks the leash out of her hand and tries to jump up the tree. So when my dog stands up on its hind feet, I'm about 5'10". She's probably about 5 foot on her hind feet, between 4.5, 5 feet on her hind feet. And that's just her standing up. So she tries to jump up in the tree. And this thing's only about 3-4 feet up in the tree. So she tries to jump up and like grab its leg out of the tree, but the dog barely misses. So the thing hops off, runs into the trees, hops the fence, and runs down the road. And she comes freaking out into my room. So she wakes me up. I'm not too proud of this, but I wasn't especially happy that she woke me up. So
So I'm what the hell are you waking me up for?
Yeah, I'm like, come on, man. I just got off like 10, 12-hour shift. Man, I'm trying to get some sleep, So that happens, and pretty much I tell her, look, it's okay. You're in the shed. Go back to sleep, So about, 30, 40 minutes later, there's something scratching on the door. And what we have is we have our dogs, kind of trained to where we can let the dogs out. Usually I like to walk them, but if, I'm in like a time crunch or something, or I'm just that tired, I'll let them out. They'll do their business, come back, and they'll scratch on the door to let them back in. So this thing's scratching on the door, whatever it is. And I'm like, let the dog
release the hounds.
Yeah, I'm pretty much like, hey, Becky, like, let the dog out. Come on, like, it's 4 a.m. She's like, the dog's right there. And I look up. I'm like, oh, the dog's right there. So I'm pissed at this point. I'm pissed. I'm trying to get some sleep. I've woken up like 3 different times. I get a machete. I freaking, boom, I kick open the door. I see something run off in the tree line. I'm pissed. I'm yelling, I'm not happy about the non-biblical terms that I used. I called it, let's just say, some very unkind words. And I told it, either leave me the hell alone or I'm going to chop it up into little fillets. And I went back in the shed and I told her it's taken care of, and I went back to bed.
So did you in fact release the hounds on him?
Really, I'm not saying I was smart to go out there with just a machete. That's probably one of the stupidest things I've done, in one of those situations. But I was tired, and I didn't care, and I wanted to just go back to sleep. I had work in the morning, and so I just went out there, and I was about ready to fight whatever the hell was scratching on the door. It ran off, and then we didn't have any problems for the rest of the night. So I'm thinking, all right, it's taken care of. Whatever it is, Pukwudgie, fox, Bigfoot, my mom, whatever, it's taken care of,
It's gone.
Exactly. So she takes off, and the next night I'm chilling in my room. I'm doing some, homework for class. I'm typing up a paper. It's me and the dog, and I hear something bang on the side of the wall. So I'm thinking, it's probably just some nature BS. I'm hearing stuff, whatever. Happens again. So I'm starting to get suspicious. I'm like, yeah, nature BS still. Next thing I know, I hear something. It's almost like something hopped up on the side of the wall and like scratched it, kind of like to get gription on it, and then started climbing up the side of the wall and then onto the roof, and it started like jumping up and down on the roof or something. So I'm starting to get freaked out at this point. And then while something's on top of the roof, I hear something kind of like walking around the door, and I have a motion sensor light on my front door, just so like when we walk by, like we can see where we're going. So it's late at night. I'm just staying up to finish this paper. It's like 1, 2 a.m. and the light goes off, and I'm like, okay, well, I know for a fact no one's up right now. So, and I check out the window. I don't see anything. There's still something on top of the roof. And so I'm getting freaked out. And I'm like, all right. So I get the dog and I bring the dog over to my end of the shed because I don't want something to like, because I don't have a lock on my door. And honestly, you can just twist it. It's not even like a regular doorknob. It's like it's almost like one of those like home sheds we turn into like a house. You know what I'm talking about? It's like yeah. So it doesn't even like a real doorknob. It's really easy to open. So I'm freaked out that maybe these things have been watching long enough. I don't know how long they are here. This is only my second day dealing with them on my end. But I'm afraid they're going to figure out how to open the door. So I bring the dog out of the end of the shed, and I'm sitting there, and I'm getting really freaked out because then I hear something else bang on the back of the wall. So I'm thinking, all right, there's 2 or 3 of these things for sure. And I can't just like book it to my truck because if there is something on top of the shed or on the side, then it could easily just kind of cut me off. So I'm thinking, I'm like, well, crap, I'm screwed. I'm stuck in the shed. I'm going to have to wait it out for the night. So I sit there. I have a Bowie knife in my hand, and I knock out, and I wake up in the morning, and everything's good. So it's one hell of a night. So I'm starting to think, all right, maybe they followed me over. I have a very I'm still driving that 89 Ford, which is
hold on. Before you go forward here, let's go back for a second.
All right.
You're out in the shed. You have the dog in the shed with you?
Yeah.
How did the dog react to all this activity?
So she's bugging out. She's about ready to kick down the door and go after whatever it is. She's barking. She's pissed. She's alert. So that's how I know that it's not just, like a friend or something. Like she knows all my friends. She knows my girlfriend. She knows my parents, my grandparents. She knows everyone that should be coming to the shed. She knows all the other animals, the other dogs, geese, whatever you want to call it. She knows all the smells, all the sounds. She knows everyone and everything that should be coming near my shed. So that's how I knew that more than likely this is something that shouldn't be around my shed because she's freaking out.
Right.
So, and she was
the other
honestly,
thing is that you can't just go, I was just imagining things. Well, the dog was imagining the same things because it was freaking the hell out.
That's why, like, after the 3rd or 4th time I heard a bang and I saw her kind of jerk up and start to, freak out. That's why I got kind of nervous because it's like, well, I'm not just hallucinating. I'm not just, imagining things like my dog, which obviously dogs have a more heightened sense than people do. She knows something's wrong. So obviously I'm going to kind of follow her example and kind of get ready that for in the possible event that something figures out how to open the door and come in.
Sounds like a wise idea.
So we kind of huddled in the other corner, and I got a machete and a Bowie knife, and I just kind of sat there because I don't have any, weapons in my house. They do in the other houses, but they keep my weapon in one of the other safes. So I don't have a safe in here. So all I have is a big machete and a little Bowie knife. So that's why I sat there in the other corner, ready for something to come in.
Oh man, and you were literally stuck there all night.
That's what was scary to me was I kept thinking like, well, I'm doing all the math. Like, well, something's on the roof. I hear something in the bath. There's something on the side. There shouldn't be anything in the front because there's only 2 to 3 of them. I'm doing all the math. I'm like, well, if I book it, I leave the dog inside the shed, I can make it to the truck and get off the property. And I'm thinking like, well, no, because I have to open the door. What if the truck doesn't start? I'm thinking all these things. What if I don't make it? What if they cut me off? I'm thinking, well, maybe I can run to someone else's house on the property. Well, what if their door's locked? I'm thinking all these possibilities. And I come to the conclusion that my safest bet is just to stay put in my shed and just wait it out.
Yeah, that sounds pretty tense. I was in that situation one time. It was with a bear that was trying to figure out where I was at, and I had actually crawled up into the rafters of the garage. And he saw me go in the garage. He followed me in there looking for me.
Oh, my God.
Walking around down below me. And I had to stay up there it was close to an hour before he actually left. Because there's a couple of times that he went out of the garage, and it was like 5 or 10 minutes, and I'd be like, oh, did he leave? Maybe I should start getting down. And then he'd come back in the garage again. So yeah, I made really sure, and then when I finally did get down, I lowered myself down onto the workbench, picked up a sledgehammer in one hand and a double-bitted axe in the other one, and worked my way slowly out the door, saw if he was around or not, and then pretty much hightailed it to the house as fast as I could go.
Yeah. Luckily, we don't have bear, at least in my area. You might have like one or two pass through like every 5 years, but for the most part, I'm lucky to say that I don't think I'll ever be in that situation as long as I'm here.
Hopefully. Yeah, this guy was a
Exactly.
big monster too. He was bad news. He finally got killed by a state patrol car, hit him when they were on their way to a call by accident. He was running across the road and they nailed him. He was
Ooh.
720 pounds. He left the track in our nice hard packed gravel driveway that was front footprint was about 7.5 inches across. So he was
Oh
big.
my God.
Yeah. Anyway, so getting back to your being stuck in the damn shed all night. So in the morning, you managed to hightail it out of there and be okay. So what's now happened since that one?
So since then, we're thinking that they probably either followed my truck just because my truck's so distinguishable from other trucks in her area, or they must have hopped in my bed because it's happened to a couple people in that area where, for one instance, one guy, he had like a flat tire or something. He pulled over, he was fixing it. One of the little things popped up, freaked him out, freaked the little thing out. I don't know why the little thing was freaked out. I knew a guy was in the front seat. So then the little thing hopped out and ran off in the woods. Dude's freaked out that there's something in the bed of his truck. So I'm thinking either they followed me or they hopped in the bed of the truck. I just didn't notice. So since
Gotta
then,
be how those little suckers figured out where you lived to start with. One of them probably hitched a ride with you.
that's what I'm thinking.
Truck.
Is more than likely is, one or two of them. Because I have a toolbox and there's like a little space under the toolbox in my
Right,
bed.
you
So
could
I'm
just
thinking
crawl in there and they'd be out of the wind and you wouldn't be able to see them and everything.
exactly, because I usually drive to her house at night just because of work schedule and stuff. So I'm thinking it was too dark for me to see them under the toolbox, or they hopped up under the exhaust pipe or something, hitched a ride. But since then, really, they've been affecting a lot of things besides just me. They've been affecting wildlife here pretty badly. We used to have a huge group of coyotes, probably at least 30 of them. You'd hear them go off every 2-3 nights. They bring down like a deer or something. They get excited. We haven't heard them in weeks. Which is unusual. So I'm thinking maybe they chased them out of the damn country. And the deer, we used to have a huge herd of deer. They moved up a couple miles up the road. The only animals that have really stayed put are either farm animals or like raccoons and possums, like the little rodents.
Right.
All
Everything
the
else
dogs.
good size is gone. What do you think happened to the coyotes? Gulp.
Yeah, exactly. Either they killed them off or the coyotes knew better and they moved on.
Yeah, I hope
Hopefully
they
for
didn't
the-
join forces with them and now they'll be riding around on coyotes for horses.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want them to have like little like coyote motorcycles running around out here.
Yeah, that would be really bad.
One thing it's affect is not just my dog, but the other dogs are all on edge. It's every night, 2-3 a.m. I don't know where you'll hear them barking off in the dark, and then one of us will go out with like a flashlight, and you scan the woods. There's nothing. You go back inside. Then the dogs start raising hell again. So obviously there's something out there. So the dogs know there's something out there. We just can't see it, and it's like I haven't told anyone else on my property because at the same time, like I love them, but I don't want to be called like the crazy person of the family either,
Yeah. Well,
So
the other thing is if they believe you and they decide that there actually is something there, then you get blamed for dragging it there.
Exactly. And while people may find that like, oh man, like you should tell your family, well, they're just bothering me for now. Like honestly, none of my family members I really noticed anything wrong except like, like the coyotes and the deer and the dogs, like they're not getting, stared at by something 3 feet up in a tree or something climbing up on top of the roof,
Good.
We had one instance where, so like a recap, obviously I live in the middle of Texas. We don't really have like a coyote is about the biggest common predator you'll have. Every few years, you'll have the supposed mountain lion or black bear, but really only coyotes are here. Like I'm not saying people are liars, but scientifically, supposedly there's only coyotes.
You even have red wolves around there?
Red wolves, as far as I know, Texas wise, they're considered extinct, but there's like a population that kind of switch over between East Texas and Louisiana. So they're technically extinct because I guess those are like Louisiana red wolves, but they're still in Texas, however you want to look at it, type thing, from what I understand.
So they're designated Louisiana wolves that just don't know where the border is.
Exactly. So as far as I know, they aren't necessarily Texas red wolves, but there are red wolves in Texas that come from Louisiana, pretty much.
Okay. So they're officially blaming Louisiana. Got it. So
Exactly,
anyway, you just don't have any large predatory animals other than coyotes around there that can be causing this nuisance.
I really no. And one night, which kind of raised all of like neighbors, us, and everything, is obviously we're in Texas, huge hog problem. Around here, they don't get as big as other parts of Texas, but you can easily find a 400 or 500 pound hog. So one night, we have a little group of hogs, a herd, whatever you want to call them. And they kind of wander around properties and they tear up all our land and they're a nuisance. So one night, we still have no idea to this day what it was. I guess there was 3 or 4 hogs and they were raising hell and something was messing with them. So all night long, and this pissed me off because it was one of those nights where I just got off work. I got work in the morning, so I'm trying to get what few hours of sleep I can. All night you hear the hogs squealing and they're charging something. Then you hear something, chase the hogs back and something would attack the hog and the hog would squeal and yada, yada, yada on for like an hour or two. So the next night on my way to work, I'm driving down the road about a mile and a half down the road. I see 3 of the hogs. They looked about at least 200 to 300 pounds apiece. One might have been 400. We'll call it about 300. That's still a good sized hog, Yeah. Something completely mutilated the hogs, gutted them, took the liver and the heart and left the rest and said to hell with them and ran off with whatever it took. And considering that these are 3, about 1,000 pounds of hog combined, not even like a large pack of coyotes is dumb enough to really mess with, 3 or 4 hogs that size, So it brings the question, what the hell would a mess with hogs that big in the middle of the night, and then not only to just take meat, but only take the heart and the liver, they didn't even take like intestines or anything.
Right. That almost sounds like the way Bigfoot hunts stuff, and they sometimes just do that. They just grab those few internal organs and leave the rest of it there too.
Exactly. And that freaked out the entire neighborhood. So all of a sudden, all of us and our neighbors are, we're locking our doors. We're bringing our dogs inside at night for 2 weeks. We're all on like practically red alert. It's like freaking Alcatraz on our road. Everyone's on, high alert, spotlights everywhere. We're all watching out for whatever the hell could take on 3 or 4 300 pound hogs.
Yeah, whatever it isn't any pushover, because even one hog that size is more than an average person could handle. A lot more.
Exactly. So that's why everyone was freaked out, is because, there's nothing big enough in this area, and a hog is about, as big and bad as you can take on in our area. That's like what an elephant is to Africa for us in the middle of Texas, is a damn hog.
As far as that goes, just about any environment that they live in, they do pretty well, because they're super tough. They're really smart. They work in gangs. They beat up things that try and go after them. Go watch some of these videos of the boonie pigs or the, what are they called? The warthogs over there in Africa chasing lions away and stuff.
Exactly.
They're bad news, man.
So that legit freaked everyone out. And we've had a few other instances where, it's tough for me to walk on the property at night now. Like, for example, I don't have like a washer and dryer in my place. When I got to do laundry, I got to do it at someone else's house. So I'll walk to, like my mom's house, because it's a compound. The entire family lives on one property. So I'll go walk over to her end of the property. But it's tough now at night, because I'll be walking and you can hear something following you in the woods, and you'll start, like speed walking a little bit like an old grandma does, and then it'll start speed walking, and you'll start running. It'll start running, and it's almost like how when you hear like how Bigfoot follows people, except it doesn't sound that big. It sounds small and little, like a little baby.
Oh God.
So, and then you'll bust out a flashlight or something, and there's nothing there. It's too dark. It's too deep in the wood line to see. So then you keep walking. It'll keep walking. You run. It runs, and you stop. It stops. And it's scary. And there's even been a couple times where, you'll hear like a little like sound or like a screech, and you're like, "What the hell is that?"
Jeez. That'd be cool if you could get a recording of one of these weird vocalizations they're making. That would be a handy thing.
It's getting tough, honestly. It's almost like they know when you have a damn camera in your hand, or you have a flashlight.
Sure. That
It's
would surprise me.
It's ridiculous, and they know. Like it just amazes me how intelligent they are. Like, for example, they watched my dog scratch on my door to be let inside. So now they know to scratch the door, except I think they don't realize that if the dog's inside, I'm not going to let them in.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, it's one of those things where you're almost scared to let the dogs go after them or something, too, because who knows if they got a trap set for them, or if they decided to use chemical warfare and they're using poisoned weapons, or what they're going to do.
Exactly. I mean, like, I love my dog too much. Like, if she goes after one, like, I'm going to have to go after her. She's almost like a child to me. I've had her since she was a little puppy and I was a little kid, So I don't want, her to, out of instinct, go after one of these things and get ambushed in the damn woods, because, like, where there's one of them, there's probably at least 2 or 3 others, if not 5 to 10,
Yeah, they may be little, but they're sneaky and they can gang up on things. That's how humans always won, too, by ganging up.
Exactly. So we've had that, and I had one other instance where, I don't know if this is necessarily like a Pukwudgie or whatever, but one night, I was walking the dog out, and it was late at night. It was like probably like midnight. I got home late. I hadn't let her out yet, so I felt kind of bad. I was like, "Come on, I'll let you out." Sorry, I was out with a couple friends, so I'm bringing her out, and we're bringing her along the tree line, and I can hear something walking. I'm like, "Oh, great, not this crap again." So this is like a couple months after everything started, and out of nowhere, like, I hear like a vocalization, but it was almost like a hyena laughter. Off like, if you watch like a documentary, you hear like a hyena laugh, and that's what it sounded like. And that freaked me out. That absolutely freaked me out. And so I stopped like dead in my tracks, and I hear it again, and I go, "Hell no!" And I know this wasn't smart, but I started booking it as fast as I could. I'm dragging the dog by the collar. I'm going, "Come on, Olive, whatever that is, you're not big enough to take it on. Let's go inside." And we go inside. I lock the door, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, "Oh my God, what the hell was that?" Because obviously, it's one thing to have a Pukwudgie, but to have something sound like as big and bad as a hyena is another thing, So that was like scary as hell, and it actually freaked me out for about a week.
How close was this to when you found the dead pigs?
This was probably about 2 to 3 weeks after the dead pigs.
Okay.
And it wasn't even like it wasn't like close to me, but it wasn't far away either. It was probably like 50 yards to 100 yards away from me.
Oh, God.
So it wasn't like right next to me, but obviously close enough to where if it wanted to, it could have gotten me, whatever it was. You know what I mean?
Have you ever run across that video on YouTube they got of people, they're outside in the dark, and it sounds like there's this weird maniacal laughter, like a hyena or the Joker or somebody is out in the woods going off. And
yeah,
they stood there and recorded it for a while. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Is that the same thing?
Honestly, it's pretty similar to that. was like just loud enough to where I could hear it, but it's almost like it wasn't loud enough to where the whole property could hear it. It's like it wanted just me to hear it, and that's what I think freaked me out the most. Is it was like it's almost like it was directed at me. You know what I mean? It's like it's looking at me, and it's directing this call at me, but it doesn't want to alert anyone else on the property to come near me. To create a more complex situation for whatever it was in that tree line.
You felt like the sound was being directed at you, so like maybe the rest of the neighbors wouldn't even hear it.
Yeah, exactly. Like pretty much as if this thing wants to let me know that it's there, but it doesn't want to let anyone else know that it's there. Pretty much as if it's directing whatever that message was towards me, whether it was like a territorial thing or predatory or just a watch yourself, I'm here type of thing. It was directed at me, but not loud enough to where anyone else could have heard it.
Damn. So at the same time, all this activity around where you're at is ramped up. What's been happening at the girlfriend's house?
So at her, and they've been getting completely bombarded night in and night out. They're almost like little raiders at this point. As they come in, they start, I don't know if they're getting like sticks or something, but it's almost, they said like the banging was getting louder, and I was pretty much like, well, I mean, it's not like they're going to Gold's Gym and squatting 300 pounds. I mean, they're probably getting some sticks or clubs or something, and they're beating the hell out of the wall.
Right.
I know that they did try to, I guess, pry open a window, is they tried to, I guess they've been watching how you open a window, and they tried to open it, like get their hands underneath the front of it from the outside, and they tried to lift it, but you can only lift them from the inside. So I don't think they figured that out yet, but they're figuring out kind of how the window works. So I told them, like, you need to start locking those windows and stop opening them.
Don't ever leave them unlocked.
Exactly. So I pretty much told her, like, you're lucky that they haven't quite figured out that window. Just leave it locked. Don't mess with the windows. Even during the day, like, screw the windows. Open the door,
Yeah. Well, as long as you got a dog there to protect the threshold, make sure nothing sneaks in it.
Yeah, exactly. I know that, I guess since the whole incident where Moose tackled the puck, they've completely left that side of the house alone, and they've left the side where the pit bull is at. So at this point, there's just kind of like the front and then one of the sides where they're bombarding it. So I pretty much told her, I was like, well, if you really want to take care of it, you can get another big dog, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously that'll pretty much stop it at that point. You're like, damn it. You got the whole yard surrounded with big, nasty dogs. You can't get
exactly, because I think with the pit bull, they kind of didn't want to risk it. But the shepherd, they were like, all right, it's smaller, we can take it on. But when the shepherd, kicked that puck in the teeth, they were like, okay, maybe not. So they're kind of leaving that alone because, don't get me wrong, they could take on both those dogs if they wanted to. But I think they're smart enough to know that if they take on both those dogs, they might lose 2 or 3 or 4 pucks in the process. And in their minds, that's not worth it at this moment.
Right. Well, if they're anything like us, they don't want to lose any pucks.
Exactly. So I think that they're just kind of playing it safe. And since 2 sides of the house aren't protected, they're going with those and leaving the 2 sides that are protected alone. Now, maybe if they get 2 or more dogs and the house is surrounded, they'll still come at them. I don't know. But at the moment, it's looking like dogs are just not their main priority right now.
Yeah. Oh, good Lord. Well, I don't know what to tell you, man. It seems like you're taking all the precautions and trying to do everything you can to be aware of the hazards and not put yourself in the position where you're going to get wasted by them.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. I'm trying my best, at least to my abilities at this moment.
And if you got to walk around at night, always make sure you got a weapon with you.
Yeah, I'm going to have to start doing that whether I like it or not on my own property.
Yep. So, who knows when they decide like 4 or 5 of them are going to jump you all at once in the dark or something. It'd be pretty handy to have a machete or a pistol right about then.
Exactly. So it's been, it's been annoying as hell. I think, as weird as it sounds, I'm getting kind of used to it because at the same time, there's only so much I can do about it. You know, it's not like I can go out there with a flamethrower and set all the woods on fire and kill them all.
Have you considered the minefield option? I know a lot of things
Exactly.
are actually legal in Texas. Is that on the list?
I feel like I could actually get away with it, whether that sounds reasonable or not. But we had some guys. They had like it's similar to like dynamite. I forget what it's called, but they would use those as target practice. So it sounded like World War II was happening across the street. So I think
Right.
I could actually get away with that. So
Well, it's got to
I think
be cheaper than the gator mode option. I don't know what else.
I think that's a lot cheaper. I don't think I could afford the food costs on that.
You could set a Pukwudgie trap if there's some metal fittings on one of the windows. You could just electrify it from the inside and wait for him to try and pry it up again.
Yeah, exactly right. But I mean, other than that, I did have a really recent one where probably 2 or 3 nights ago, Becky was walking up back from my mom's. She put some laundry in the washer, and she had one chase her out from the tree line and off across the property. And she ran back into the shower. I wasn't home. I was at work. So she texted me like, "Hey, I got chased." And I was like, "By what?" She's like, "Well, I mean, take a guess. It was one of the little pucks." So that freaked her out that one of them chased her across the property. So they do seem more bold with her than me, at least, and whether that's just a male-female type of thing. They see me as like so like the big like macho man or whatever, and her as like the easy target, whether that's it or it's something completely else, I don't know. But they are definitely
from the background we went over already, it sounds like there is a generational attachment and they're sort of out to get her.
exactly.
And it seems to me like they're probably interested in you because you're more or less her protector. So they need to get rid of you in order to get her.
So, I mean, I guess if on the bright side, they're not as bold with me. So I'm in less danger than her, I guess you could say. But I'm still in, I guess, enough danger to warrant consideration to kind of plan my actions ahead of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, don't go wandering off half-cocked or quarter-cocked or no-cocked or any of them kind of situations.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I wish I could offer you some more sage advice other than the minefield or gator mode option, but
I mean, if I had the money, I think I could get away with it. But
well, all kidding aside, though, you guys be careful down there. I know this is a bad situation, and it almost makes me wonder if there's something other than them wandering around down there now. It could take out 300-pound hogs.
Sometimes it seems like it. We've even had instances where the neighbors' dogs, they're like, I'm not sure what they are. They seem like pit bull mixes, but they're still good size, 70, 80 pounds. But you'll have nights where I guess the dogs get loose and you can hear them barking and raising up hell. Then they'll run into the woods half cocked, and something either, I guess, attacks them or scares them or something. And you'll hear them yelp and they'll start running back, tail between their legs. You can hear it. And then the owner, freaks out because it's like, oh my God, what happened to my dog? And he brings him into his house and shuts the door. And that's happened 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night, and you can hear it happen.
God.
So I don't know if there's something else out here that's messing with them, but there's sometimes it does seem like there's something else out here besides just the 2 or 3 pucks that I have on my property.
Yeah, it almost makes me wonder about it, especially with the whole pack of coyotes just kind of disappearing. That's really suspicious, too.
Like, I'm not saying that they wouldn't be scared of pucks, but I feel like if those coyotes wanted to, they could either coexist or fight off the pucks, in a sense.
Well, and the other thing you got to think of, too, is if, one mid-size German Shepherd could have a rumble with the pucks and scare them away, how would they defeat a whole,
Pack
bunch of coyotes, a whole pack of coyotes?
So sometimes it does seem, just from like hearing things and seeing, slaughtered 300-pound hogs, that there is something out here that, I just can't figure out, whether that's a Bigfoot or a dogman or some crazy redneck. I don't know, but it does seem like there's something else.
Yeah, just be careful. There's other cryptids running around the woods, and it could be a Sam Squatch and could be something else. So just don't take stupid chances. Make sure you're armed if you're walking around.
Exactly. I'll definitely, keep my wits about me. I can promise you that.
All right, brother. Well, thanks so much for coming back on the show and updating us, and make sure that you let us know what's happening here in the future, okay?
I definitely will. You got my word on that.
All right, man. And for everybody else out there, if you still need to get Christmas presents, they're available. We have 2 really cool t-shirt designs. You can get them at teesprings.com/stores/world-Bigfoot-Central. And go there, check them out. And we have mugs and hoodies. Hoodies being awesome this time of year. Be back with you. It's another episode next week. Until then, don't hug the woods. Safety first, last, and always. Pay it forward. Don't be mean to people if you don't have to be. Don't flip off the mountain giant. Don't poke Dogman with a stick. Don't punt the Pukwudgie. And for God's sake, whatever you do, do not hug the Wookiee.